Democracy Nowish, the only news show that's positively not censored. Sponsored by Spin Dictators Inc., your one-stop show for subtle authoritarianism.
Today, we're here to discuss the new and improved face of tyranny, brought to you exclusively by Spin Dictators Inc. Forget our violence, it's all about managing your image.
Are you tired of outdated tyranny? Meet our latest product, the Spin Dictator. Say goodbye to mass executions and hello to carefully curated elections, media manipulation, and subtle censorship.
Citizens, please listen to the last part of this message before Spin Dictators Inc. censors us, or worse. We must understand how Spin Dictators work. We must be informed. Consider this. Unlike the old dictators who ruled through fear and brutality, Spin Dictators achieve control by mastering the public opinion. Their playbook is very simple, yet very dangerous. First, they focus on being popular. They cultivate a mass appeal that wins the hearts and the minds of the people. Like Hugo Chavez, for example. He didn't rely on military crackdowns. He dominated Venezuela's airwaves, using charisma to romanticize his leadership. Second, once they have the appeal, they channel it to consolidate power, turning popularity into authority. Vladimir Putin, for example, after securing public support, he used it to reshape the institutions of Russia, adjusting the constitution, packing the courts with loyalists, and rigging the elections. Third, they pretend to be democratic. In a world where the majority cherish the idea of democracy, this performance is incredibly effective. Leaders like Turkey's Erdogan and Hungary's Viktor Orban continue holding elections, but they manipulate the system, they control the media, they restrict the opposition, and they tilt the playing field so that democracy exists only as an appearance. Fourth, they open up to the world using global media channels to polish their image and mask their true intent. Lee Hsien Loong of Singapore posts sunrise photos on Facebook, masking himself, presenting himself as a friendly, transparent leader while maintaining tight control over the political opposition and the press freedom. And finally, the most crucial rule for all Spin Dictators. These leaders avoid violent repression, choosing instead to govern through calculated and subtle manipulation. Rather than mass executions or military purges, they just control the information. They control the media. I'm here to tell you that the protection of democracy isn't a passive process. It relies on the robust resistance of informed citizens who are willing to question and challenge these dangerous narratives. Remember, the robust resistance of informed citizens is what secures the institutions of free government and makes them work. The protection of democracy lies in the active resistance of the informed. Stay informed, citizens. Democracy depends on it.
Truly revolutionary. Let's go to our international correspondent, live on the ground in a very authentic democracy.
Thanks, studio. I'm here at Democracy Land, which Spin Dictators Inc. cites as the golden standard for democracy. Hey you, citizen. What do you think of living here in Democracy Land?
We totally have press freedom, as long as we don't complain, criticize, or question anything important. We just have to comply. And elections are great here. Last time our beloved leader won with a totally believable 110% of the vote.
Fascinating, truly fascinating. Thank you very much. It really shows that Spin Dictators Inc. really knows how to hold elections. Thank you very much. Back to you, studio.
Incredible insights from the field, but what makes Spin Dictators such a success? Let's go to you, Alondra.
Well, according to experts, Seria Guriev and Daniel Treisman, it's all about the groundbreaking strategy of faking democracy norms and avoiding visible repression.
What our author says goes along with Brian Rosenfeld in State Dependency and the Limits of Middle-Class Support for Democracy. That explains that demand for democracy will remain limited where middle-class groups fail to gain economic independence from an authoritarian state. So basically what Spin Dictators try to do with the cop-outs for the media or limiting the informed stratus for the middle class and the elites. So, trying to be a part of this informed stratus, we have to acknowledge our limitations and that maybe we ourselves are falling under the charm of spin dictators. There's a bit of a contradiction while talking about the informed. Supposedly, as that status grows, it gets harder to stay as a spin dictator. However, they talk a lot about Singapore, where the education levels are high, economy is good, and they have possibly one of the best example of a spin dictator. They say that the regime is going to be under risk when their current leader retires. However, we know best than to say that the success of this dictatorship is due to a man in particular, as William Esterly explains in Benevolent Autocrats. So this leaves a blank space as to why will the spin dictatorship will stop working, because all the possible factors that they mention that make us an embrace of democracy have already happened, and they are still holding on strong. So this takes us to the question: do spin dictatorships always lead to democracy?
Surely you wouldn't think people would be fooled, right, Regina?
Well, actually, studies show subtle repression mixed with a pinch of globalization and economic growth keeps people happily well informed.
Democracy getting messy? Liberal world order not quite ordering. Spin Dictators Inc. presents a revolutionary new idea. Why fake democracy when even democracies aren't bothering anymore? Coming soon, Spin Dictators. Now without the spin. Because let's face it, democracy might just fake itself out of existence.
Recently, we explored Guriev and Friedman's work on spin dictators, and today, we're even more critical of these political figures. Thanks to their insights, we now understand the stark difference between regimes based on fear and those that manipulate through controlled media. Instead of using overt violence, spin dictators tweak narratives to mobilize opposition. Consider Singapore under Lee Kuan Yew or Russia under Putin, which are examples in their book. Their pragmatic and technocratic approach often appears to work in the people's best interests by emphasizing economic performance and public services, much like democratic rhetoric that avoids overt repression. Yet, modernization and globalization introduce an interesting tension. They force traditional, fear-based regimes to adopt spin tactics and even might push spin dictators to generally democratize. But if globalization stalls or reverses, that delicate balance could collapse, potentially leading society back to more overt forms of repression. This is a risk that Guriev and Treisman warn us about. This raises a critical question. Are we merely witnessing sophisticated manipulation of the masses, or has economic and social instability eroded democracy from within? Guriev and Treisman assume that pervasive manipulation keeps the liberal world order built on freedom, democracy, and human rights intact. However, these values were once the cornerstone of Western ideology after World War II. But today, they might be shifting. Other administrations like Trump's, for example, the commitment to these ideals appears uncertain, and even the ideological gap between the US and Russia might be narrowing. Furthermore, while Guriev and Treisman call for stronger adversarial engagement, meaning better monitoring, the embracing of modernization, institutional repair, and international reform, Geddes reminds us that both democracies and autocracies might risk backsliding when the economic and social foundations weaken. In short, the analysis of Guriev and Treisman are really insightful, but it might not fully capture the internal dynamics that are challenging the very notion of democracy today. We might even need Spin Dictators 2.0.
So, dear viewers, what's next for these spin dictators? With rising education, social media, and globalization pressures, they might eventually have to try, dare I say, real democracy.
Or maybe they'll double down on spin and hope nobody notices.
Thank you for joining Democracy Nowish, where democracy is a state of mind.
Brought to you by Spin Dictators, making authoritarianism delightful since the 21st century.